Under the vast, moonlit expanse of the Nile, a secret waited, a truth hidden for millennia, shrouded in myth and dismissed as legend. The story spoke of a chamber beneath the river's depths, said to contain records of humanity's true origins. Only a handful of cryptic references in ancient texts whispered its name: the Pharaoh's library. Dr. Nadia Sarwat, an unorthodox archaeologist, had spent her career chasing such whispers. For years, she had pored over overlooked fragments of papyrus, carvings in forgotten ruins, and oral traditions dismissed by mainstream scholars. The world of archaeology deemed her a fanatic, but Nadia didn't care. She had finally uncovered the clue she'd been seeking: a metallic shard unearthed near Luxor, etched with symbols that predated Egyptian civilization. Her instincts screamed that it was a key, though a key to what she could only imagine. But when the shard responded to electromagnetic scanning, revealing a hidden map of the Nile's underwater terrain, Nadia knew she was on the verge of something extraordinary. By night, with the assistance of a privately funded expedition team, Nadia launched her operation. They descended into the murky waters in advanced submersibles, their search guided by sonar and the mysterious map. Hours passed before the drones uncovered it: a massive geometric structure buried beneath layers of sediment. At the heart of the structure was an enormous, octagonal portal, its surface smooth and seamless. Nadia's hands trembled as she retrieved the metallic shard from her pack. She pressed it to the portal, and the moment it made contact, the entire structure awakened. A low, harmonic resonance filled the water, and the portal shimmered into transparency. The team exchanged uneasy glances. Nadia, with a mix of fear and exhilaration, motioned them forward. "This is it," she whispered. "The library." Inside, the chamber defied logic. The walls shimmered like liquid metal, displaying symbols and patterns that rearranged themselves when observed. Floating globes of light cast a soft, golden glow, moving as though alive. The centerpiece of the chamber was a towering monolith of crystalline material, pulsing faintly with energy. Nadia approached the monolith, her breath catching as it activated. Holographic images sprang to life, surrounding the team in a panoramic display of impossible detail. The visuals told a story, one that would challenge the very foundation of human history. The holograms revealed titanic beings of impossible stature and grace, shaping the earth with incomprehensible technology. These alien architects sculpted mountains, carved rivers, and seeded life across the planet. Humanity, Nadia realized, was no accident. It was an experiment, carefully engineered by these beings. The holograms transitioned to show the architects guiding early humans, teaching them agriculture, language, and monumental construction. The pyramids were revealed as far more than tombs. They were power generators, designed to harness the Earth's natural energies for purposes humanity could not yet comprehend. But then the images darkened, showing conflict fractures among the architects themselves. Some of them sought to abandon the experiment, while others argued for humanity's potential. The holographic sequence ended with a warning. The architects had left behind knowledge in the library to safeguard humanity against a future crisis. But the key to unlocking it lay in understanding unity and responsibility, qualities the architects feared humanity had yet to develop. As the holograms faded, a voice, alien, resonant, and layered, echoed through the chamber. "Curators of this knowledge, your species stands on the edge of evolution or extinction. Use what you have learned wisely, or risk unmaking what has been built." Nadia turned to the monolith, her mind racing with questions, but before she could speak, the chamber shuddered violently. The glowing orbs began to pulsate erratically, their golden light flickering into sharp reds. "We've been detected," one of the diverse shouted. "By what?" Nadia demanded, but her question was drowned out by the rising hum of the chamber. The octagonal portal behind them began to shift, its translucent field solidifying into impenetrable metal. The water around them grew dense, and the chamber's symbols scrambled into chaotic patterns. Nadia frantically activated her helmet recorder, capturing what little she could of the alien inscriptions before they vanished. "Professor, we have to leave now. yelled Tariq, the expedition's lead engineer. Reluctantly, Nadia signaled the retreat. The team swam out as the portal fully closed behind them, sealing the library once more. On the surface, Nadia sat in stunned silence aboard the recovery ship. The Nile's gentle waves lapped at the hull, indifferent to the revelation that had just unfolded beneath them. She replayed the footage from her helmet camera, her heart sinking as she realized much of it was too distorted to decipher. But the fragments she had seen were enough to append everything: human history, religion, and even the future. The library's warning echoed in her mind. If humanity was on the brink of annihilation, was it truly ready to wield the knowledge left behind? Her team gathered around her, their faces a mixture of awe and terror. "What do we do now?" Tariq asked quietly. Nadia stared at the Nile, her thoughts swirling like the currents below. The library's secrets were more than knowledge. They were a responsibility, and she wasn't sure if humanity could bear their weight. "We'll analyze the data," she said, though her voice lacked conviction. "But this stays between us. For now." Deep down, Nadia knew the library was more than a relic of the past. It was a test, and their discovery had only just begun. The ship's cabin was dimly lit as the team gathered around a laptop, replaying the fragments of Nadia's helmet footage. The symbols flickered across the screen in incomplete sequences, their meaning tantalizingly close but frustratingly out of reach. "I can't make sense of these," Tariq said, shaking his head. He gestured to one particular frame that showed 3 intersecting geometric patterns. "This could be a language, or it could be advanced math. Maybe both." "It's not just the symbols," Nadia replied, her voice heavy with exhaustion. "It's the way they shift. It's almost like they're alive, responding to how we think." The words hung in the air like a storm cloud. The implications were staggering. A language that could evolve in real time wasn't just communication, it was something far more advanced. As the team debated, an incoming call interrupted them. Nadia's private satellite phone buzzed insistently. She hesitated before answering, knowing full well who it might be. "Nadia," came the smooth, measured voice of Alexander Kroll, the expedition's mysterious benefactor. "I trust the mission was illuminating," Nadia said cautiously. "But there were complications." Kroll's chuckle carried an unsettling undertone. "There always are. The question is, did you find it?" Nadia glanced at her team, their expressions betraying a mix of curiosity and unease. "We found something. But it's far more complex than we anticipated." "Good," Kroll said, his tone sharpening. "Then you're close. Return to Cairo immediately. I have people who can help." "I'm not handing over this discovery to anyone," Nadia said firmly. There was a pause on the line, long enough to make her pulse quicken. "This isn't just your discovery, Dr. Sarwat. It belongs to the world. And more importantly, it belongs to those who understand its importance. You'll see that soon enough." The line went dead. Nadia stared at the phone, unease creeping through her. Later that night, as the team disembarked in Cairo, Nadia couldn't shake the feeling they were being watched. Every shadow seemed to stretch too far, every glance from a passerby lingered too long. The sense of paranoia only deepened when Tariq discovered a small tracking device embedded in their equipment cases. "They knew where we were the whole time," Tariq muttered. "How did we miss this?" Nadia's jaw tightened. "Because they wanted us to find the library. They've been waiting for someone to open it." "Who are they?" asked Layla, the team's linguist, her voice tinged with fear. Nadia didn't have an answer. But she knew Kroll was only the surface of a much deeper organization. One that had been waiting for centuries, if not millennia, for this moment. Determined to stay ahead, Nadia and her team relocated to a remote, secure location, a crumbling estate on the outskirts of Cairo, far from prying eyes. They worked day and night, poring over the footage and analyzing the data they had managed to extract. Layla, whose background in cryptology gave her a unique perspective, focused on the symbols. "I think these symbols aren't just language or math," she said one evening, excitement breaking through her exhaustion. "They're a key. Literal key." "To what?" Tariq asked. Layla pointed to a sequence she had decoded, which seemed to reference coordinates to another site. The library is just the beginning. The revelation electrified the group. Nadia cross-referenced the coordinates with ancient maps and modern satellite imagery. They pointed to a remote area deep in the western desert, far from any known archaeological site. "This can't be a coincidence," Nadia said. "If there's another site, we need to find it before Kroll does." "But we're being tracked," Tarek pointed out. "We can't just walk into the desert and hope for the best." "We won't have to," Nadia replied, a steely determination in her voice. "We'll lead them where they think they need to go while we take another route." The following days were a whirlwind of preparation and subterfuge. Nadia and her team fabricated false plans, leaving behind a trail of breadcrumbs designed to mislead their pursuers. Meanwhile, they quietly gathered the resources needed for an expedition into one of the harshest environments on Earth. But as they prepared to leave, another piece of the puzzle emerged. Late one night, while reviewing the holographic sequences, Layla noticed something startling. One of the shifting patterns wasn't random, it was a recurring symbol, a spiral encircled by 3 lines. "It's a map," she realized. Not to a place, but to a technology. Something left behind by the architects. Nadia's heart raced. What kind of technology? Layla hesitated, her expression unreadable. Something to rewrite reality, to reshape the world. As the team set out into the desert, the weight of their discovery pressed heavily upon them. They weren't just uncovering history. They were unearthing power that could save or doom humanity, depending on who wielded it. And somewhere in the shadows, Kroll and his enigmatic organization watched, waiting for the moment to strike. The race had begun, and the stakes were higher than Nadia could have ever imagined. The caravan rolled silently into the western desert under the cover of night. Their vehicles had been stripped of tracking devices, and only the stars and a specialized GPS unit guided their way. Nadia and her team had ventured far from civilization, following the coordinates derived from the holograms in the Pharaoh's library. The promise of answers and the threat of being discovered drove them forward. The desert was hauntingly quiet. The wind whispered through the dunes, and the vast emptiness stretched endlessly in every direction. The isolation brought a mixture of exhilaration and dread, especially for Nadia, who knew that they weren't truly alone. 2 days into the journey, Layla's discovery shifted the tone of the expedition. Late one night, as they set up camp near a jagged rock formation, she pulled Nadia aside. "There's something you need to see," Layla said, her voice trembling. In the pale glow of her laptop screen, she showed Nadia an enhanced still from the holographic sequence. The spiral encircled by 3 lines pulsed faintly on the screen. Layla had overlaid it with ancient Egyptian star charts and discovered an uncanny alignment with the constellation Orion. "These lines aren't just symbolic," Layla said. "They're celestial markers. If we're right, the technology left behind by the architects is tied to the stars, literally." Nadia stared at the screen, the implications unraveling in her mind. The architects hadn't just built pyramids as energy conduits. They had tethered their technology to the cosmos itself. If the alignment was necessary to activate whatever lay ahead, they were running out of time. The celestial alignment would only last for another week. The following day, the team arrived at the coordinates. At first, it looked like nothing more than an expanse of barren desert. But as they scoured the area, Tarek's ground-penetrating radar picked up an anomaly. Beneath the sand lay an enormous, buried structure. "It's massive," Tarek said, his voice laced with awe. "At least the size of a football field, and the shape, it's perfectly hexagonal." Excavating the structure proved grueling. As the team worked tirelessly to clear the sand, a small entrance revealed itself, a triangular doorway covered in inscriptions identical to those found in the library. Nadia placed her hand on the carvings, feeling the faint hum of energy beneath her fingertips. "This is it," she whispered. The team prepared to enter, their movements tense and deliberate. The doorway opened seamlessly as Nadia placed the metallic shard against its surface, just as she had done at the library. Inside, they found a corridor lined with glowing blue conduits, pulsating like veins. The air was thick with a metallic tang, and the walls emitted a faint hum that seemed to resonate in their bones. The corridor led to a central chamber, much larger and more elaborate than the one beneath the Nile. Floating crystalline structures filled the space, radiating soft light. At the center was a pedestal, atop which rested a spherical device made of the same iridescent material as the shard. Nadia approached it cautiously. As she drew near, the sphere began to rotate, projecting holograms that filled the room with impossible imagery, star systems, mathematical equations, and architectural designs that appeared almost alive. The team stood in stunned silence as the images coalesced into a single message. The voice that emerged was neither male nor female, its tone harmonic and otherworldly. You stand before the nexus of renewal. This is the culmination of our experiment. The device you see is the key to restoration. When the time of your species' trial arrives, it will grant you the ability to reshape your reality, provided you possess the wisdom to wield it. Nadia's chest tightened. Trial? What trial? The holograms shifted, showing Earth's surface racked by disasters, rising oceans, devastating storms, and skies darkened by ash. The architect's voice continued, unfazed by the apocalyptic imagery. Your species approaches a precipice. The key will guide you, but only if you choose unity over division, creation over destruction. Before Nadia could respond, the chamber's hum grew louder, and the crystalline structures began to pulse erratically. Layla gasped as her tablet lit up with warning signals. We've triggered something, he shouted. There's interference, an external signal. Tariq's eyes widened as he checked his equipment. They found us. Kroll, Nadia muttered under her breath. We don't have much time. The chamber's lights dimmed as a new vibration rippled through the structure. A secondary hologram appeared, overlaying the first. This one was less elegant, more jagged. It displayed an incoming caravan of vehicles, armed and advancing rapidly toward their location. They're here, Tariq said. And they're not coming to negotiate. Nadia's mind raced. They couldn't abandon the site, not now. Not when they were on the brink of uncovering the architect's ultimate gift. But neither could they allow Kroll and his shadowy organization to seize the key. We need to secure the device, Nadia said, turning to her team. Layla, Tariq, get whatever data you can from this place. I'll find a way to activate the key. What about the others? Tariq asked. We hold them off as long as we can, Nadia said, her voice resolute. This knowledge isn't theirs to take. As the team scrambled to prepare, Nadia approached the key, its surface glowing with an almost sentient awareness. The architect's voice echoed faintly in her mind, repeating its ominous warning. Unity over division. Creation over destruction. With the weight of humanity's future pressing on her shoulders, Nadia knew that their next move could change everything, and there was no guarantee they would survive to see the outcome. Nadia stood before the glowing key, her heart pounding as the architect's voice faded into the pulsating hum of the chamber. The weight of the moment threatened to overwhelm her, but she pushed the fear aside. She had spent her life chasing the truth, and now she stood at the precipice of that truth, humanity's fate in her hands. Tariq and Layla worked frantically, downloading every scrap of data they could from the crystalline structures. The glowing symbols rearranged themselves in real time, as though aware of their efforts. Whatever this is, Tariq muttered, it's alive or close to it. This isn't just storage, it's a system. Layla glanced nervously at the chamber's entrance. We don't have much time. Kroll's team will be here any minute. Outside, the desert erupted in chaos. Vehicles screeched to a halt as armed operatives spilled out, their weapons trained on the entrance to the buried structure. Alexander Kroll stepped forward, his expression calm but his eyes gleaming with anticipation. Move quickly, he ordered. The key is inside and I intend to have it. The first wave of operatives advanced, their flashlights slicing through the dark corridor. But as they neared the central chamber, the structure responded. Walls of light sprang up, cutting off their path. The operatives hesitated, unsure whether to proceed. Kroll smiled thinly. "It's a test. Push forward." Inside the chamber, the glowing key began to vibrate, its energy intensifying. Nadia placed her hands on its surface, and immediately her mind was flooded with visions. She saw Earth from above, its beauty juxtaposed with scenes of devastation. Forests burning, oceans rising, cities collapsing. Then came a choice, a vision of two possible futures. In one, humanity united, wielding the key's power to heal the planet and usher in an age of enlightenment. In the other, the key's power was misused, leading to war, destruction, and the extinction of life itself. The architect's voice returned, echoing in her mind. "Choose wisely. The path forward is yours to shape." Kroll's operatives broke through the first barrier of light, their progress slow but relentless. Layla turned to Nadia, panic in her voice. "They're almost here. I need more time." Nadia shouted, her hands gripping the key. As the visions continued, the key began to change. Its surface dissolved into tendrils of light that wrapped around Nadia, connecting her to the chamber itself. The glowing symbols on the walls surged with energy, casting the room in a blinding brilliance. Tariq shielded his eyes. "What's happening?" "She's interfacing with it," Layla said, awe and fear mixing in her tone. "She's becoming part of the system." Kroll entered the chamber, flanked by his armed operatives. He paused, momentarily stunned by the sight of Nadia bathed in the key's light. His calm demeanor faltered, replaced by something darker, desperation. "Dr. Sarwat," he called, stepping forward. "You don't understand what you're dealing with. This isn't a tool for one person to wield." Nadia didn't respond, her focus entirely on the key. The tendrils of light pulsed faster, and the chamber's hum grew louder. The air felt charged, crackling with raw energy. Kroll's voice hardened. "Step away." Nadia opened her eyes, her gaze locking onto Kroll. "You're right. It's not meant for one person or for people like you. It's meant for all of us, but only if we're ready." Kroll raised his hand, signaling his operatives to move. "You don't have the authority to make that decision." Nadia smiled faintly. "Neither do you." With a final surge of energy, the key's light exploded outward, engulfing the entire chamber. The operatives screamed as their weapons melted into harmless liquid, and Kroll stumbled backward, shielding his face. The chamber seemed to resonate with a single harmonious tone as the walls themselves dissolved into waves of shimmering light. When the light faded, Nadia and her team found themselves outside, standing in the desert under the star-filled sky. The structure was gone, buried, hidden, or perhaps transported somewhere beyond comprehension. The key, too, had vanished, leaving behind only a faint warmth in Nadia's hands. Kroll and his operatives were gone, their vehicles abandoned in the sand. Layla looked around, bewildered. What just happened? Nadia exhaled slowly. "Key chose. It understood that we weren't ready, not yet." Tariq frowned. "What does that mean? Did we fail?" "No," Nadia said, a quiet determination in her voice. "Means we have a chance. The key didn't abandon us, it entrusted us to earn it." In the days that followed, Nadia and her team returned to Cairo, their lives forever changed. They had no physical proof of what they had seen, but they carried with them the knowledge of what could be. Nadia began quietly spreading the story, not as fact, but as a myth, a warning wrapped in hope. She knew the world wasn't ready for the truth of the Pharaoh's library, but she also knew that the seeds of unity and understanding had to be planted now. And somewhere, deep beneath the sands of the western desert, the architect's legacy waited, watching, and perhaps one day, ready to be found again.